Hi! So, for our discussions, we had to do the questions and stuff. So, I've got mine. For the first one was when I am around strangers, I tend to introduce myself and get to know them related to the situation. So, if it's like derby, I'm getting to know them in a derby perspective. If it's work, I'm getting to know them in a work perspective. To be perfectly honest, I've never met a stranger. I'm a very social, outgoing person, and I want to know who you are. Even if that is the extent of I know your name, may not remember it after the day is over, but I remember your face and then I introduced myself to you. And number two, when I communicate with someone, the hardest thing for me to do is actually truly listen to them. So I've really struggled with, while they're talking, I'm already thinking about what I'm gonna say. And the conversation may have evolved from we're talking on A and the conversation's now on C, but I still want to make a point about A. And it's not as productive because then people feel like you're not actually listening, because to be honest, I probably wasn't, because I was still stuck on that first point. So for me, that is the hardest thing to do, is actually truly listen to them. I've tried my best to improve on that, and I think now, since I've been working on that skill, I've actually gotten a lot further with it. Number three, when I communicate with somebody, the easiest thing to do is actually continue the conversation. So I can keep the conversation going. I can redirect, come up with a new topic, come up with a new question. I can keep a conversation going. Pretty easy. Number four, if I could change one thing about the way I communicate, it would be to be a tad more reserved. I am pretty out there, and that can actually be intimidating. So some of it's reading body language I do struggle with occasionally. I know I've actually gotten a lot better through my jobs, and having to learn that large body language focus and how they're responding, but being a bit more reserved because I can come across pretty strong. And then number five, if you could change one thing about when the way others communicate, it would, so my biggest pet peeve with conversations is when somebody overrules the conversation. So I know I mentioned earlier how I don't always truly listen, so when I'm I bring old points up because I want to talk about those. Well, my biggest pet peeve is when people dominate a conversation. So they'll sit there and talk without a breath, or you'll make advances or cues that you would like to comment about something, and it's really hard for you to do that respectfully because the way they're dominating the conversation. So that is kind of my big thing. In general, most people's communications, I actually said poor because I know I do get some people that have some really great communication skills. To be perfectly honest, those are older generations or people who have taken communications classes. Like, I grew up with my mom and she's a communications major, and so I grew up around some better communication skills. However, we still are in the generation where we text. We have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the little hashtags, cute little things. We're making everything shorter, so I believe that we've actually lost our good communication skills. And that, in general, most people's communication skills is actually pretty poor. Number seven, communication is not important to me because I said it's important to me because I use it every day in my job. I am a Mary Kay consultant, so I have to call people to book facials, and then I'm talking with them during the facial, offering them the opportunity and doing things. And I also watch a little kid with Downs, so I'm communicating with therapist about how he's been, which is then communication with his para at school to the therapist, and then to the parents, and the therapist to the parents, and vice versa. So I really have to communicate what the parents have said and what the therapists have said to each other, because I am that link, because the parents don't have a lot of contact with the therapist because they're working, and he's having therapies after school while the parents are working and while I'm there. So communication is really important to me. I think it's we use it so much, but yet at the same time we actually aren't using it accurately, and we're actually losing communication as a whole because of text messages and things like that we're losing the art of it. And then people who have good communicators are people who, so I got a little bit, I said listen really well, because if you're listening really well, you're going to be able to respond really well and hear what they're saying, and that's actually a really good sign of communication to me. Responding, not reacting. So a lot of times we end up reacting to what they said, and that's how you get into heated arguments and things like that. So I believe responding, because then that shows you're processing and you're not just blowing it out of proportion. Body language, being able to read body language. So you know when to back off, you know when they're too stressed, you know when they're right on with what you're saying. And then also being able to read people, which I think goes into body language, but sometimes it's not so much body language when you're reading a person, it's their manner, their tone, so that how they're responding. Are they responding really short? Are they responding really long? What kind of responses are some of the things of good communicators? I think there's lots of them out there, but yeah, those are my big ones. So thanks, everybody. Bye.